Hello everybody, this is Tip Top Gaming here today with another MTG Arena video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the state of the game for February 2020. For those who don't know what the state of the game really is, it's really where they just say, it's not really like, oh, here's how MTG Arena's stats are doing. What they're actually doing here is they're saying, here's what's coming to MTG Arena in the next month, and a lot of time they go past the next month, but basically, here's where the game is, and here's where it's going to be in the future in terms of features we're adding. So that's mainly what's happening. So what I'll do is I'll read through it and I will give you my thoughts, opinions. I will give you some more information that may not be on the article, but we've heard from other sources. And so yeah, I'll break down all of that. So why don't we get into this? As we celebrate the release of Theros Beyond Death and the upcoming Magic World Championship, the February game update brings a variety of ways for you to experience Magic the Gathering Arena. And that is very true, and you'll see as we go through, it's a lot of just new ways to play the game, and I really like that. But Magic World Champion, I believe that's 26, 16 players, $1 million in prizes. In a little over a week's time, the best Magic players in the world will travel to Honolulu, Hawaii, and compete for the title of Magic World Champion. And this year, they'll be competing on MTG Arena. And that does mean a couple things. For instance, it happens, so MTG Arena, the World Championship is both standard and draft, which means that they're going to be doing draft on MTG Arena. We're about to see that in a little bit. Actually, next paragraph, and I'm going to talk about that. But one thing to note is that if you haven't already, they have this thing called Choose Your Champion, where you basically just pick who you think is going to win. And if you happen to get it right, it doesn't cost anything to enter. You just enter your email. You get a code for a pet, a card sleeve, and rares. And even if you don't get first place, there's different rewards for which person you pick. But either way, you guaranteed get a free sleeve and free rares. So it's a pretty good deal. Obviously, it's free. So I would recommend checking that out. I did a video covering that. Check that out. Either way, to support the draft portion of the event, we've added the option for players to direct challenge each other in a limited tournament match that will follow the same rules as other best-of-3 draft formats in MTG Arena. Players will also have the option to choose 40-card decks as one of the options for other direct challenge matches, where you can play around with options like timers and go who goes first. I think that they need to clarify a little bit more what they mean here, because I could see this going two ways, and I'll tell you which one I think is more likely. This could mean, hey, we're allowing you to battle each other with 40-card decks, and that's pretty much it. Now, what they mean by limited tournament mode is when you're direct challenging someone, there's play mode, and then there's tournament mode, and tournament mode just has preset rules, and, so on and so forth. But then just play mode, you can customize the rules in terms of best of 3, best of 1, coin flip, timers, all that. You can kind of change those settings. And so what it means is by limited tournament match is that it'll basically be preset rules for 40-card decks, but they're also adding the ability to do 40-card decks within the just play or the generic direct challenge menu. So that's really good. But a lot of people I've seen read this and think that they're going to add, you can actually draft with your friends. I've seen some people who get really confused over this, and, they could mean that, but based on the way they're talking about it, this just means that you can play with 40-card decks. And I think that's really cool. I also think that once real player drafting comes into the game, they do need to add that you can draft with friends. It's kind of weird that you're going to have to build 40-card decks. You almost have to, draft outside of the set or pay 5,000 coins for a draft and then use that deck to battle against your friends, which you could totally do, and it adds more value to drafts. And they're going to talk about another feature with that soon. I just think this is really good. I think that they need to expand Direct Challenge because community tournaments, playing with your friends, that's really what makes this game great. Okay, rest assured, this is not what we meant when we referred to 8-person drafts in our developer roadmap. This is what confuses me, because now they're talking as if you're actually playing with your friends. I don't think if you would have just left that out, I don't think anyone would have been confused. This line just adds a little bit more did anyone really think that being able to play 40-card decks in Direct Challenge is what they meant by 8-person drafts? Unless that's what they are talking about, where you actually draft in-game, because in the World Championship, I don't see them, making them draft against bots, because that would really change how the format works, and that'll be interesting to see how they do that. But we are actively working on the ability for you to draft against other humans players in game. However, that feature will be arriving in a game update later this year. So last month they revealed that it was coming this year, and they actually have an image here. At first I thought this was just linking back to the roadmap, but when you click on it, it actually shows you this image where it's basically open seats and then it has like a Johnny and the logo, and like it says work in development and finding a draft table. Now, the fact that they have this much done, this much GUI work, which pretty much means, unless this is a mock-up to make players believe that you are actually playing it, I think it's a high chance that this is very close to being done. I could see this being like a halfway through the year where we're like adding more life into the game, kind of around maybe not halfway through the year, but when Brawl was released, that's actually pretty far in the year. Maybe they do like a new format every year. So then this is going to be draft and cube that are going to be added in that time. But the fact that they have this makes me think that there's a high chance that they're pretty far on this, although this does kind of just look like a mock-up in terms of the fact that it's player 123, but that could be a dev account, not sure. It really is interesting. Also, may I mention, this is human_draft_version 1 in terms of the link for the image, which means that that could hint at something. But why don't we jump right back into here, because that's not coming this month. We've also added the option to easily export your decks from limited events, be they draft or sealed, with a February update. You'll see an add to decks button above your deck if you want to add your deck. Basically, here, ready? So right here, there's a little button that says add to decks. So if you drafted this 2-color deck and you lost 3, then you can be like, oh, I actually really liked the deck, or maybe you won 7-0. I want to see if I can make this into a real deck, or maybe I want to play this against an opponent in that new challenge mode. You can now do that. So that's very interesting. All right, be your champion. At first, I just glossed over this because I'm like, oh, they're talking about like mythic qualifiers, but then I realized, no, they're not. While tuning into the World Champion coverage on Twitch, you can also be your champion in MTG Arena, metaphorically. During the weekend of Magic World Championship, MTG Arena will be hosting the World Showcase, which will allow you to play best of 1 matches, which is kind of interesting, against using the deck list submitted by the 16th players. So basically, there will be all the deck lists for all the players, and you get to play with one of those decks, and you're going to play against each other. And since these are competitive and like they want to win, these are going to be the most net decky of net decky decks, which means that this event, well, I think it could be very interesting. I think it's going to be very controlling, and some people are going to find it really boring because it's going to be like high power Magic, and some people aren't going to like that. However, it is free to enter. You do not have like a limited amount of attempts, and you do get rewards. So you get 2,000 XP and a card sleeve. So for free, you are getting a card sleeve here. Now, I believe this is different than the other card sleeve. I'm not sure, they didn't actually clarify that, but I believe this is different than the other card sleeve that you get for the Choose Your Champion. They say here are the details for the event, and then they link to this page. And so it looks like you'll be in this like arena, and you can actually see that you get like their player heads as like your avatar, which is kind of interesting. And yeah, they don't have the deck list here, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, that's very interesting. I will be doing a like breakdown of that, where when the deck lists are there, I'll basically break down, hey, here's the deck I think that's going to win, but obviously all these decks are going to be very closely powered. I'm just going to talk about the rewards, all that, so stay tuned for that. Again, a lot of this comes in the future, so I'll probably do more videos about it in the future. Either way, the stars aligned. So this is where we can talk about how you can add those beautiful Nyx basic lands, as well as the other constellation-themed showcase card styles to your collection. First, let's talk about the lands. With the February game update, players will be able to purchase each Nyx basic land and card style bundled together from the store for 3,000 gold each. You'll only have to purchase each land once, as once unlocked, you'll be able to add it to as many decks as possible. So I think that this kind of sucks, that they're making people pay for it. I would have rather, because I'm going to talk about numbers here in a second, them add these to the event like series. So they did like Planecations in M20, there was like festivals in Throne of Eldraine, I think that, or there were Chronicles in War of the Spark. So I think that they should have added them to those events, but we'll talk about this here in a second. So first off, a lot of people have been able to get the Nyx lands before an update, where if you took the Planeswalker deck, you could get the colors of the Planeswalker deck, those lands, for free. So those players kind of have a one-up, but here's the thing, these include the styles, which you might be like, what do the styles do? Well, what they do is they make it so it's animated. We actually saw this in a GIF where the swamp, the like stuff that's going around the swamp, is actually moving on the battlefield. And I think that out of all the things to get people to buy, I think lands are one of your best investments for cosmetics, because guess what? You're going to see these in almost every game. You might buy Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, but when Standard rotates, you're not going to be able to use that. I know it already rotated, but there's an example. Or like it's only going to appear in maybe one of your decks. So I think that lands are a really good investment. I would probably be buying these. However, that is 15,000 coins. So it's 15,000 coins just for basic land styles. Like, you don't even need these. You don't need these to play the game, which I think is a good thing. I think that, paywall cosmetics is all you want. Just don't paywall fun gameplay. Now, here's where we're going to go into Festival of the Gods. Now, I will do one other thing, sorry. Down here, we can also see that they're adding more bundles with gems, like the Drawn to Power bundle. Just an interesting thing to note here. Yeah. Other way, Festival of the Gods. For the remaining showcase card styles, we're taking a page from the Eldraine storybook and holding another festival of events, this time centered around each of the monocolored gods from Theros. We start things off hot with Fire of Perforos, and each player can earn the Constellation showcase style for Klothys, Annex, and the bronze-blooded deity himself. So, basically, there's going to be 5 events similar to Chronicles, each with a 2,500 gold entry fee. So, I believe at one point these were free. Actually, I know these were free at one point. I played the game during that, obviously. And then they bumped them up to 2,500 gold. Now, you do not need to play these. These are literally just cosmetic rewards, which I think that's fine, but a lot of people are going to want to play the actual game mode, and so you have to pay that to play the game mode, which seems to be a common theme, but I actually think these ones are better than, like, Brawl-A-Days, because Brawl-A-Days isn't blocking off any, like, Brawl is a format. It's not like a sub-format of a format, like, either way. Also, they're kind of a fun game modes. Generally, there's like a couple game modes that return, and then they do some new ones. So I'm going to break down those game modes. Also, when these events come around, I will also be doing a breakdown of each one individually and gameplay of each one individually. So Fires of Perforos, so this will be Perforos, and so you'll get Klothys, Annex, and him. So you'll get 2 mythic styles and the Annex, which is an uncommon, and these are the showcase styles. So these aren't parallax, these are showcase styles, which look very cool. I will be definitely doing these events. I might not get the lance. I don't know. I still have to figure all this out. Either way, then, so that's standard Artisan. Artisan is a wonderful format where it's commons and uncommons, so it basically gets rid of all the really powerful stuff. Very cool. Nylea's Call is a giant monsters emblem, which rewards you for playing big monsters, so expect a lot of mono green, just play big creatures. Heliod's Glory, Immortal Sun emblem. We've never seen this before. I assume the Immortal Sun, I don't know what this is going to be a reference to. This could be like, I actually have no idea. When they reveal more information about this, I'll do a video about it. Erebos' Memoir of Death is Historic Brawl. This is the first time we're seeing a historic brawl, which is pretty awesome, like as an event. Now, you could always play it in direct challenge, but this is the first time we're seeing it as an event. On top of that, it's the first time it's being referred to as Historic Brawl. It's always been referred to as Friendly Brawl, which is new. And then a new one is 150 card pre-constructed singleton. So this is pre-constructed, meaning that they're going to have the decks pre-built for you. So again, I'll do a video covering each deck and which one I think is going to be most popular, but these are really going to be inconsistent, so there's not going to be like this one's going to win because it has this one card in it. I think playing with big decks is fun, but it's, I don't know how this is going to go. It could be really fun, though. Pre-constructed events generally, though, aren't the greatest. So yeah, I think this is meh. I mean, it was expected. It always happens. Let's move on. The workshop series, now these are really cool. We're also looking to expand the types of events we offer that don't require entry fees. Bonus points if we can find some fun specialty modes that don't require deck building either. So this is an event that you can play the game for. You don't have to pay to get in the event, and you don't have to pay for the cards you're going to use. So, these limited time events are intended to give players a small taste of a variety of formats, and the only thing you need to do is show up to play. In addition, there's no entry fees or deck building required. Workshop events will reward you for the first win in each event. These rewards will vary from workshop to workshop. Some will reward gold, others XP, some individual card rewards. So basically, it's free to enter, you get your decks, and that's very interesting. Now, for the February game update, here's a breakdown of the workshop events we'll be featuring. So Power and Glory, Brawl. If you're new to the format, we'll be providing a couple of decks for you to try out before Wednesday rolls around. Or you head over to Guild Hall. So basically, there'll be a one for players who maybe don't know what Brawl is. There'll be a bunch of pre-constructed Brawl decks that you can play against each other. You might not think that's fun, but you can, I believe, looks like here, get 500. Oh, that's Heroes of Theros. I'm not sure. You'll be able to get some sort of rewards, and it could be gold, XP, or some ICRs, which is very cool. So you're basically getting free stuff. Then Heroes of Theros, which here's is spelled wrong. It's spelled right here. But play with limited decks drafted by other players who managed to earn 7-0 record in their event. Have you ever asked yourself what a good draft deck looks like? This is the workshop for you. So basically, they're taking draft decks that worked really well in Theros, and they're letting you play with them to let you see how this works. I think that's really fun. It's not a format I'll be really playing a ton, but it'll be interesting to check out. And then Uncharted Paths, play with standard constructed decks purposely designed to be off meta. Sure, they'll never top 8 a Mythic Championship, but we love them. So these are going to be decks that aren't meta game, but they're going to be fun, and I really enjoy that. Now, these run on Mondays and are available for 48 hours, so they'll be there for all of Monday and then Tuesday, which means that we're getting, like, the events, like the festivals, and those start on, I believe, Saturdays, and that'll probably go to Monday, and then Monday to Tuesday. So we're really gonna have like special events for a ton of time next year this month. And I noticed that because I obviously build a calendar around all this stuff, and it's pretty full of breakdowns and gameplay and just talking about all this stuff. But yeah. Now we're going to talk about changes to ranked draftability, availability, which is probably the most controversial change. They can't go one state of the game without controversy. It says, starting with core set 2020, we made sure ranked drafts of the most current set were always available, alongside a second draft that would rotate every 2 weeks. The data we've seen since then has been counterintuitive. We started to see less overall draft play when there were more events available. Variety is the spice of life, it seems. So from February 14th to the 27th, Theros Beyond Death ranked draft will take a 2-week break before returning on February 28th. It'll be there for another 2 weeks and then rotate again. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So it'll basically go on, off, instead of just always on and then having another type of draft there. First, don't panic. We're not trying to secretly take away Theros Beyond Death ranked draft. We may revisit having multiple ranked draft events available once 8-player draft is available, but for now, we're going to see how play looks with ranked draft queues so we can compare notes from before. Okay. I think that this is a bad move. Now, I think they're misreading things. So first off, they're talking about starting in core set 2020. They did this, and it was a very great move, I think, because it let players who wanted to draft the current set do that, and it let players who didn't want to also not draft it. But what I think is the case here is that, okay, in core set 2020, that's not a super interesting thing to draft because it's core set 2020. It also, like, it also was the start of the having to pay for events more kind of thing. I mean, that happened really with Throne of Eldraine, but it really started to see the needing to spend more gold, and so I think part of the less draft play is the fact that they're draining more gold, and players are saving their gold because they're like, hey, maybe I need this for an event. And then with Throne of Eldraine, the draft was horrible because the bots were picking poorly, and it was making draft really unplayable. So I think that if they would have let this go one more time, I think they would have seen that, hey, this really isn't a problem, but they're trying to fix it. Maybe they'll see that this actually causes it to go down worse, and they'll fix it again, but we'll see. Okay, then event design AMA, AMAA. So basically, they're talking about how with an assortment of new events, the return of events like Brawlers Guildhall, changes to ranked draftability, and a look at expanding formats offering, we wanted to keep the conversation going in regards to how we plan and plan. Basically, they want to keep you like informed. And their format goals and outlook are clearly changing from standard only, which is how they started, to something that looks at more formats. And you made it clear that MTG Arena should provide fun experiences to all types of Magic players. And you're right. Magic is more than any one collectible card game. It's dozens of formats and even types that cater to diverse player bases, from Brawl Brewers to standard spikes. We've already ramped up our intentions to bring more cards from older sets to MTG Arena. This is a really big one, which includes several historic anthologies. So that's confirming that it's happening more than once, which I believe they confirmed a while ago, but just again, alongside Amonkhet and other Pioneer-focused remastered sets planned for this year alone. So I talked about the future of like remastered sets, and I said, oh, Amonkhet's probably coming this year, and then maybe not another one till next year, but it looks like they said other Pioneer-focused remastered sets. So it's saying other sets, implying at least 2. So there are going to be at least 3 remastered sets this year based on this. And historic stuff. A historic anthology. So that's really crazy. We're also trying to try out new modes and experiences, even if those experiments include both trials and errors. As we move beyond standard constructed, we're going to have to rethink how things fall in rotation. Basically, there's a lot of changes happening. So they're doing an Ask Me Almost Anything about their formats and events, which I feel like they're going to talk a lot about Brawladays or Brawlers Guildhall, and they're doing that on the subreddit, and that's happening on February 10th at 11 a.m., so I will be covering that when that comes out. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for this video. I want to talk about really quick things. They talked about Brawlers Guildhall. That is coming back. There may not be friend drafting, may not happen. Either way, but there's no word on Mac, which really surprised me. I thought they'd be like, oh yeah, Mac's coming next month. Maybe not this month, but we're working on it for next month. There's lots of events. Ammon Cup's coming this year. Yeah. Okay. That's really it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Please hit that like button, subscribe. I know it's been a long video, but there's a lot to talk about. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Yeah.